Hello and a very warm welcome to Bharata First. You're watching UPSC Corner. I'm frankrausanpereira. Since you're here, please like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon and share the video as well so that more people get to know about Bharata First. Do subscribe to our newsletter to get some incisive content. The Bharata First team runs several quizzes. You can participate in them. If you like our content, please contribute to keep it alive. A small contribution that you make will go a long way in us bringing you this content. Let me also take this opportunity to inform you about Bharata First Knowledge Center, an initiative that will help each one of you in your competitive exams and transform the way you learn. Go to kc.bharatafirst.com for more details and register now. Experience a whole new way of gaining knowledge. Hundreds are already reaping the benefits of the Knowledge Center. Ensure that you don't be left behind. Register right now because there's so much more that the Knowledge Center has to offer. All this information along with some must-see recommendations are in the description of the video. Please go through it. Well, it's that time again where we meet a member of the Indian bureaucracy in UPSC Corner. Today, I have a young officer who cracked the exam not once, but twice in as many years. He secured rank 336 the first time and was allotted the Indian Audit and Accounts Service in 2017. But he did not stop there and wanted to pursue his dream. He gave the exam again to better his rank and service and secured the 6th rank and got into the Indian Administrative Service in 2019. It is a pleasure to welcome on UPSC Corner Shubham Gupta, who is now an IAS and has been allocated the Maharashtra cadre. Welcome, Shubham, and it's nice to have you here on Bharata First.
Thank you so much, Frank, for a generous introduction, and thank you.
Great. Okay, so let's start with your interview and talk about the personality test that you had and how it went, because it's personality test season right now and is going to wind up very soon and very shortly. So if you can take us through your personality test, both 2017 as well as 2019.
Right. So actually, I think this is, you'll also find this very interesting. So the first interview which I gave, a personality test in 2017, I scored only 124 marks out of 275, which is pretty much the interviewer telling you that we don't want you in the services. And the next time around, I scored 184 out of 275, which is decent. Right. And so basically the natural question is, what did I change? What did I do wrong in the first interview and what did I better to kind of gain that 60 plus marks, in the second interview. In the first one, I think the predominant mistake I made was that I didn't really take the personality test very seriously. I was of the opinion that a personality test is really a test of personality. So you cannot prepare your personality in a span of 1 or 2 months. And so probably whatever you have, whatever you are in an age of 26, so that will show in the interview and you'll be fine. But unfortunately, this is not how it works, right? So personality, because once your career depends on something, you really need to prepare for it, and a confidence will drive your interview and also your personality in a lot of ways, right? So in the second interview, the only thing I changed is I prepared really hard. So for almost about 60 days, I prepared for every single word from the detailed application form. I prepared every single word about the Indian Audit and Account Service where I was working. I prepared every controversy which was running around the country and especially to the job and my background, economics also and law also. So I was absolutely prepared, and I also made sure that I will fill the detailed application form very, very carefully. Like I will not just write everything and anything just for the sake of it, just because I wanted it to look lengthy, just because I wanted it to look like I have done a lot of things in my life. I wanted it to clearly showcase what I have done in my life. So I made it very concise. I only wrote a couple of things in every column, and then I wanted to myself to be very, very clear about what I'm writing, right? So even if any question was asked about any single word from my DAF, I was absolutely prepared, right? So I also, the fact that I knew that probably not every question will be asked, But just the fact that I was confident that even if any question is asked from any of the word in the detailed application form, I am completely prepared. And I think that gave me a huge boost in terms of confidence. And that really showed in the interview that day. Although 90% of the questions that were asked to me on that day were economics. It was my optional subject is law, but my background is economics. So every 90% of the questions were economics based, not related to my detailed application form at all. But just the fact that I was confident completely about whatever you want to ask me about, I'm well prepared. That I think really showed in my personality that day, and I was able to kind of deal with the questions which were thrown at me. Almost, I think 50 questions were asked to me in about 25 minutes that day. So I think it was a pretty tedious interview also, but I think it went decently well.
So the biggest takeaway from this is basically to be prepared and be as prepared as you possibly can, and have a positive mindset as well, so that you can be prepared for anything that could happen there. And it's not necessary that what you've prepared will only be asked. So it can be anything. At the end of the day, it's the UPSC board. So they have the entire world in front of them, and they have the liberty to ask you anything and everything that they want.
Right. So, and I think it's very important to understand that although it constitutes only about 10% of the total weightage of UPSC mains and personality tests combined, but that really makes a huge difference, not only in terms of your place in the list, but also whether you really find your name in the list or not. You know, and I again, this is learning by mistake for me also, because I made a mistake in the first attempt, and I didn't take it. I didn't realize the value of the personality test that much, and I didn't prepare well for it. But I think this really showed in my ranking also, for that matter, fortunately. When I scored only about, I think, 184, while I mean 184, but a lot of other people scored 210 also. But then that really pushed me, about 50 places up. I could have easily been 60 or something, but 184 really pushed me to rank 6 in that year.
So what is it that stood out the most for you as far as the interview was concerned? Anything that caught you off guard, or anything you thought that was maybe out of the extraordinary?
I think, interestingly, so my interview actually started on a very shaky note. I was asked questions. I was non-stop asked questions about economics and the economic landscape of the country and all that. And I think I fluttered a lot in between those questions. And I was probably doing very average. I was not doing up to the level of a 184, in my opinion. Even I would have been the chairperson, I would not have given myself 184 for that matter. But I think towards the end of the interview, there was a very nice lady who was sitting there, and she asked me something about my hobby. And this time I was very specific about my hobby. I had written just one hobby, which was reading non-fiction books. Right. And fortunately, I have read decent number of books. But then again, that was a day which was a tricky day for me. So generally, I was prepared for a question like, Acha, what is the last book that you have read? What is your favorite non-fiction book? Those are the kind of questions you prepare for beforehand. But I was asked different type of questions. I was asked, okay, whether have you read the book The Gene, which is written by Siddhartha Mukherjee? I hadn't, so I had to tell them, no, ma'am, I've come across it, but I'm yet to read it. Right. Next, she mentioned some other book, and she asked me, do you know the author of this book? Again, I had to tell her, no, ma'am, I'm sorry, I don't know the author of the book. And I think this was the last chance she would have given me. And she mentioned that, have you read the book Freakonomics? And again, I did not know the name of the author, or probably it slipped out of my mind. But she did not ask me the name of the author. She just asked me, okay, tell me what the book is all about. And I think that really pushed me 20, 30 marks above, because I really knew very well about what Freakonomics is all about. And I took about, I think, 5 to 7 minutes in explaining about what the book is, and probably giving illustrations and all that. And I think that really stood out for me during the interview, and that really pushed me, to score whatever I was able to score that day. So I think I probably was fortunate enough to find that lady in that seat on that day, and that helped.
Great. So that's another learning in all of this. Even if things are not going your way, it's just that one moment of luck or one moment of brilliance that you need to turn things around and shape and push the interview in your direction. All right. So moving on from the interview now, let's talk about the preparation journey itself. And how was that like? Was your optional economics, because your background is definitely in economics and you have a very strong economics background? So how did you choose your optional, and how was that for you?
So my optional was actually law and not economics. And the reason for that is very silly, if I may say so. The reason is very simple, that I had joined a coaching and 80% of the people who went there chose law as their option for whatever reasons. Unfortunately, I think I made a bad decision. I should have actually gone with economics based on due research and your own understanding of the subject and all that. And my understanding of economics is decent, right? It has always been decent enough. So I think the more informed choice would have been economics. It is only fortunate that law really worked for me and I was able to see my name in the list both the times I wrote the mains. But it is very important, and I just really want to emphasize using your channel here that it is very important to choose the right optional and using the right strategy. And the right strategy is very simple. It has to be a subject which really interests you. And the only reason I really stuck with law even after the first and second attempt is because I really found my interest in law, despite it not being my background subject, right? But in the first place only, I should have gone with due research and diligence, in picking up my optional subject.
Absolutely. So as far as preparation itself is concerned, there are many people who have different strategies and different ways and different modes of preparation. Some like to study all night, some like to read certain books and certain authors or certain way of preparation. What was your preparation journey like?
So I started preparation in the third year of my college, which was the last year, and I started with joining a coaching. So I enrolled myself in a coaching. I was part of the coaching, but I was part of the college also. So I was never preparing for UPSC full time. I was always part of one thing or the other. In the first two attempts, I was doing my master's from Delhi School of Economics. And in the next two attempts, I was training in Shimla in the National Academy of Audit and Accounts, right? So my strategy has always been very different from others because of the lack of time which I have had, always it has been full-time college or training academy. So I have limited number of hours in which I had to prepare for UPSC. Now, the strategy has been very simple. Like I always wanted myself to be very organic. So organic, by organic, I mean that I generally my primary source of information has been NCERT books. So I will always start with NCERT books and try to substantiate my information using something else if I feel the need. So my key source of how do I put it, limitation in terms of study is to not go for too many reference books. For example, I have never read Lakshmikant for quality. That may also be because my optional is law, but that is also because I always read the bare act of given by PM Bakshi, and I never felt the need to read Lakshmikant, and I have scored decently well in quality, right? So the point that I'm trying to make is that if you go for reading too many reference books, then it leads to a cluttering of information, and you end up reading the same thing in a different language. It leads to a lot of wastage of time and a lot of pressure building on your own self. So which really kind of digresses from what UPSC is all about, which is focus, right? So that is one thing which I changed in my strategy as compared to others. Next is honestly, I never wanted to follow anybody's strategy, and I don't want anybody to follow my strategy really, because I really believe in the fact that everybody, like you said, there are so many strategies running around, and every strategy is successful for that matter, right? So everybody is supposed to kind of practice enough and find out that strategy, that unique strategy which works for him or her. And I think that really makes a difference again in whether you clear the exam and how well you clear the exam. So I think those are the strategies which needs highlighting. And of course, current affairs. I think the importance of current affairs can never be overemphasized, because almost the entire exam is, even if something is asked out of the static portion in the exam, most of it is picked up from some event, some recent event which has happened in the past couple of years or so. So again, the current affairs are extremely important in that sense. And I made sure that I revise them at least 3 to 4 times before I go into the exam.
Absolutely. Very important and very valid points that you mentioned. And, it also depends on the mentality of a person as to how they want to approach this exam, because it is undoubtedly one of the toughest exams that there is in the world right now. And you should always follow what works for you. Moving on from there, now let's talk about getting into the service itself. For the first time when you got ranked 336, what was the feeling like? What was the reaction like? And how was it different the second time around?
right? So those were the mixed feelings in the first attempt. The second attempt, I think I was extremely happy, and I wasn't actually. Two of my friends came running to me and they told me that, okay, you have got the 6th rank, and I checked the result thrice actually before actually believing them that this is actually me who has got the 6th rank, because I don't think I was even expecting to see my name in the list, and that too right at the top of the list, right? So it was really a shock to me, and above everything else, I think it was a feeling of satisfaction and knowing the fact that I will not have to go through that cycle once again, because I had been through that cycle for 4 long years, and it was really a feeling of great satisfaction for me that now the cycle is done and I will really be doing what I have always aspired to be. So I just called my dad and told him, Papa, ho gaya. And that really showed how I felt at that moment of time. And later on, of course, the other emotions really emerged, and I was feeling happy, and a lot of calls came and all that. So it was a really satisfying feeling, but yes, a lot of relief also for that.
Perfect. 2 words, satisfaction and relief. I don't think you can put it any other way. Talking about the next step, of course, getting into Labasna, the training and everything that happened there. If you could take us through that.
So interestingly, Frank, so when I was in audit and account service, I had gone to Labasna once for the inter-service meet, which is basically all the services come together and kind of play a lot of games there. And when I went there, I was feeling completely not at home. I was completely feeling like I've come to a very strange place. Maybe because I always aspired to be at that place. And on the last day, a lot of my friends, started buying the tracksuits from Labasna. But I, for some reason, decided that, okay, if I will buy this suit or I will wear this tracksuit only if I earn it, otherwise I will not. And on the day when I actually joined Labasna after clearing the 4th attempt, we were given all those suits on the first day itself, the blazer, the tracksuits and all that. And I think that was really a moment where I, it really validated my 4 years of preparation of sorts. My decision of, not being satisfied with the audit and account service, because now today I was there as a matter of right, and I was there as a matter of me doing something and earning that all that for me, earning the place for me. So I think that was the feeling which with which I entered the academy, and again it was all a feeling of grandeur and all that okay, this is probably the most sought after place in the academy in terms of academics and all that. So I think it was a little overwhelming in that sense. But slowly, when we got to know each other, we really realized. And I think I like to really call that Labasna is really like college in suits for guys, of course. So I really like to put it that way, because it is that, like, you really just hang out with people, you make a lot of friends, you talk your heart out with people, but ultimately you have to be always be in suits. So that's how Labasna is all about, But it's really, I think, one of a kind experience. And once we come to the field, we really realize that we miss that experience a lot.
Absolutely. I think the key word there here is, you mentioning about a sense of fulfillment and feeling that, that sense of fulfillment when you got there the second time, knowing that you belong here also was a completely different feeling. And I really appreciate that, and it feels great. And I can only imagine what you must have gone through, because it would have been such a proud feeling too, to be a part of Labasna again a second time, and in a different avatar, in a different mode, in a different mold altogether. So let's now move on from here and talk about the service itself and the service allocation and how that worked out for you and how things are going now.
Right. So, of course, my first choice was administrative service. So I got that. And my cadre choice, the first choice I gave was my home cadre, which was Rajasthan. And second choice was Maharashtra. So I got Maharashtra because there was no insider, outsider, a lot of factors go in that. But whatever happened, I did not get Rajasthan and I got Maharashtra. Initially, I was feeling really strange when I really came to Maharashtra, and the first place that I went to in Maharashtra was Nashik, where I did my district training. Nashik is actually a very nice place. It's quite an urban place, and you actually get a feel of everything. Tribal culture also, urban culture also, rural culture also. So it's really a nice place to be trained in that sense. But when I joined there, I immediately was made to sit in 4 or 5 hour long COVID meetings. And all those meetings, entire meetings were in Marathi, and I was not able to understand even a word of Marathi. Right. So I used to just sit through the meetings and wait for the meeting to get over. Please send me home. Please send me home. I'm not able to understand anything. Right. But I think in the next 10, 15 days, 1 month or so, I started picking up the language. Once I got accustomed with the language, I realized that in retrospect, my decision or my fate of not getting Rajasthan and getting Maharashtra was actually a good one, because Maharashtra is a totally different I mean, it can really be called a country in itself, not just because of the economic status of the state, but also because of the kind of diversity that it has, right? Like I was in Nashik for last year, and now I am in Gadchiroli, and Gadchiroli is, you cannot even imagine that Gadchiroli is actually a part of Maharashtra, because it's completely a rural setup, and you are talking about a state which is the most urbanized state in the country. So the kind of diversity that Maharashtra provides you is outstanding. And now coming to the job that I have been doing. So of course, in training, you do not get to, really have stakes in a place, because you're just joining different independent charges. Like I did chief officer charge, which is municipal administration. Then I did BDO, then I did Tehsildar, then I did SDM, but all were for six weeks and all that. So you really cannot put your stakes in a place that. But now that I am here, I don't think any other job really compares to the diversity and the challenges that we face, Frank, on a daily basis. Like on a daily basis, right now I'm handling three different charges. One is SDM, the other is project officer for tribal areas, and one is chief officer for Nagar Panchayat. I think on a daily basis, I deal with at least 15 to 20 different subjects. And none of the subjects are actually related to each other, apart from the overarching subject, which is development of for the people, right? So I don't think any other job really compares to that, and the kind of satisfaction that you derive out of this job is really uncomparable. The only factor which really needs to be emphasized, it's not a government job, not a 9 to 5 government job, which most of the people think a government job to be. Not one of the days, even in my training days, I have gone home at 5. It has always been 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 also, for that matter. And it not because I am the only person who is working those many hours. Everybody in my batch is really working those many hours, because otherwise it's really difficult to kind of get the projects done, whatever the kind of responsibilities that you are endowed upon. So in that sense, it's a challenging job, both mentally and physically. But like I said, no other job compares to the satisfaction that you derive out of it.
Excellent. Excellent. And I'm so very glad that you're having such a great time in the service, and you find this satisfying, and you find this, as the best job in the world, and there's nothing else that compares to this. And before I let you go, Shubham, let's talk about, any words of wisdom, any words of advice that you would like to give any youngsters who would like to follow in your footsteps.
I mean, I think there's just one thing which I really want to tell them, and that's that ultimately UPSC is just an exam, and this is not me discouraging people from attempting the exam. Of course, this is one of the finest jobs in the country, and if you think you can do well here, you should definitely attempt the exam. But then you should always think of life beyond clearing the exam also, and I think it's very important. I have seen many of my batchmates feeling completely lost when you come to the field, because they have never thought of a life beyond clearing the exam. Most of them, their lives end after clearing the exam and going to Labasna and just clearing there, and that's all, because they've never imagined their life there. And that's when failure also strikes you the most, because you never realize that there can be multiple ways of reaching your destination if unfortunately UPSC doesn't work out for you. If you have planned your life ahead, in terms of what really you want to do after clearing the exam, there can be multiple ways of doing the same thing and being happy about your own self. Otherwise you can really be stressed out in terms of not being able to unfortunately clear the exam. That is something I want to say. And just one last statement which I actually use at many places, which is UPSC is just like a boxing inning, that you do not lose the match when you fall down, but you lose the match really when you refuse to get back up. So I think in that spirit, it is very important to take life as well as UPSC.
Absolutely. And on that very, very positive and different note, we'll call it a wrap on this edition of UPSC Corner. Shubham Gupta, a pleasure having you on the program, and thank you so much for being here on Bharata First.
Thank you so much, Frank. I had a great time. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, before I go, once again, let me remind you to like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and share the video as well so that more people get to know about Bharata First. Do subscribe to our newsletter to get some incisive content. The Bharata First team runs several quizzes. You can participate in them. If you like our content, please contribute to keep it alive. A small contribution that you make will be a giant leap for us to keep bringing you this content. Let me also take this opportunity to inform you about Bharata First Knowledge Center, an initiative that will help each one of you in your competitive exams and transform the way you learn. Go to kc.bharatafirst.com for more details and register now. Experience a whole new way of gaining knowledge. Hundreds are already reaping the benefits of the Knowledge Center. Don't be left behind. Register right now. There's so much more that we at the Knowledge Center have to offer. All this information along with some must-see recommendations are in the description of the video. Please go through it. That's it from me. See you again next time.